The moment they ignore you is the moment you win. Because when you stop reacting, you start rising. And let me tell you something fierce. You don't chase people. You replace them. Silence isn't weakness, darling. It's strategy. You are not made to be seen only when convenient. If they don't see your worth, don't dim your light. Walk away and let them go blind in your absence. When someone ignores you, it feels personal, like a direct hit to your worth, your presence, your energy. But let me shake that illusion for you, because ignoring is not a message about you. It's a mirror reflecting everything about them. Think about this. Have you ever held the door open for someone and they just walk through without even a glance? For a second you feel dismissed. But here's the truth. They didn't ignore you. They ignored themselves. You ignored their manners, their awareness, their character. That moment wasn't a message about your value. It was a mirror showing theirs. When people ignore you, they think they are in control. But what they don't realize is your response, or lack of it, writes the story. Silence is not submission, it's observation. It's wisdom in progress. It's the calm before a stronger, more powerful version of you arrives. Sometimes a friend doesn't text back. A crush leaves your message on read. A colleague pretends not to hear your idea in a meeting. The old you would overthink, overreact, ask what you did wrong. But the elevated you, the version you're becoming, knows this. People treat you based on their perception, not your reality. A woman once told me, he used to reply in seconds, now it's been days. I asked her, what changed about you? She said nothing, and I said, exactly. People ignore what's familiar, not realizing how rare your energy is until it's gone. Let them. Let's flip the lens for a second. Ever ignored a call because you were overwhelmed? Or skipped a message because your mind wasn't in the right space? Now ask yourself, was it about them? Or was it about you? Most of the time, it wasn't personal, it was internal. It was you processing, surviving, escaping. So why do we take it so personally when others do the same? Here's the answer. Because we equate silence with self-worth. But darling, your value doesn't decrease based on someone's inability to see it. Just because someone fails to acknowledge your presence doesn't mean you've disappeared. In school, the quietest students were often ignored. But those same students now build empires in silence, while the loud ones are still craving validation. See the pattern? Ignoring isn't always an insult. It's often a preview of how much you are growing and how uncomfortable that growth makes others feel. There's a young girl who kept showing up early to work, giving her all, hoping her boss would notice. He never said a word. One day, she stopped trying to be seen and started working on herself. She took a side course, improved her skills. Months later, she resigned. The same boss who ignored her suddenly begged her to stay. Because here's the truth. People don't realize your value when they're too busy controlling your shine. They only react when they feel your absence. Even in relationships, ignoring becomes a tactic, a game. But when someone deliberately tries to trigger you with silence, it's not love, it's manipulation. And the best response? No reaction, just evolution. Show them that your soul doesn't beg for breadcrumbs. It builds its own table. You have to understand your energy is expensive. And some people go broke trying to keep up with it. When they ignore you, they are telling you a story Not about your worth, but about their limits, their immaturity, their fear of depth, their inability to face someone who doesn't need constant approval. Queen doesn't flinch when overlooked. She knows the throne isn't built in public, it's carved in silence. So next time someone ignores you, smile, not out of pettiness, but from power, because they just showed you the mirror. And you, my love, are glowing in it. Reaction is power, and you own it. The most underrated superpower in the world is emotional discipline. People think strength is how loud you speak, how fast you reply, how quickly you clap back. No. Real strength is how calm you stay when everything around you tries to trigger your storm. Let me give you a real-world truth. Every time someone triggers you and you respond without thinking, you hand over your remote control. Imagine being in a room and someone who doesn't like you walks in and says something petty. The old you would bite back, snap, defend yourself. But the higher version of you knows. They want your reaction because that's where your power lives. You want your reaction. Because that's where your power lives. And you notifications, comments, texts, that seen message with no reply. People test you to see if they can still pull your strings. But darling, you're not a puppet. You're the director. And the director doesn't perform. She controls the scene. Let's talk about relationships. You know that feeling when they take hours to text you back? You wait, you stare at the phone, and finally, you react. You send a follow-up, you double text, you lose your calm, and suddenly, you're no longer on equal ground. You've shifted from mystery to misery. But when you don't react, when you choose to focus on your own life, your own glow-up, your own journey, you remain the one in power. Because emotional control is emotional intelligence. And it is the rarest form of beauty. Picture this. You're at work, and your co-worker publicly tries to undermine you in a meeting. Everyone expects a confrontation. They want to see drama, sparks, emotion. But you smile, you respond with facts, you thank them politely and move on. Later someone asks, "How did you not lose it?" And you say, "Because I'm not here to fight. I'm here to rise." That moment, that's your crown being adjusted in silence. The most iconic people in history, those who led movements, changed minds, shifted nations, weren't reactionary. They were strategic, calculated, grounded. They responded when it mattered, not when they were provoked. There's a phrase I love. If they can get to you, they can control you. And you, my love, are not built to be controlled. You are built to be respected, admired, remembered. You have to stop giving people the keys to your mood. You have to stop letting someone's bad day ruin your whole energy. Even in friendships, it happens. Your closest friend suddenly starts acting distant, cold. You're tempted to ask, "What's wrong? Did I do something?" But sometimes you need to sit back and let their silence speak. Let their behavior explain what their words can't. And instead of reacting, you observe, you reflect, you elevate. Every time you stay calm in chaos, you're rewriting your story. You're proving that not every battle is yours to fight. Some are just noise trying to distract you from your destiny. And the best revenge is no revenge. It's success. It's peace. It's walking away with your head held high while they wonder how they lost the privilege of your reaction. Respect isn't requested, It's reflected. You don't beg people to treat you right. You don't chase validation. You live in such a way that people have to mirror the respect you show yourself. And if they don't, that says everything about them and nothing about you. Think about it. When you walk into a room with your head held high, your back straight and your silence louder than any words, people notice. They may not say it out loud, but they feel your presence. Why? Because respect is not in how much noise you make. It's in how unapologetically you carry yourself. It's not something you demand. It's something you radiate. I remember a girl who once told me, "They always take me for granted, no matter how much I give." I asked her, "But how much have you given to yourself?" She went silent. That's the point. If you pour into everyone else's cup and leave yours empty, you teach them that your energy is disposable. You show them that you come last, and they will follow your lead. Respect is a mirror. You don't teach people how to respect you with words. You teach them with boundaries, with choices, with silence. You teach them by how quickly you walk away from what doesn't align with your peace. If someone constantly disrespects your time, your emotions, your presence, it's not because they don't know better. It's because they've learned you'll tolerate it. So stop begging to be treated right. Start becoming so self-respecting that anything less feels like an insult to your soul. In a corporate meeting, I saw a young woman who was constantly overlooked. Her ideas were brilliant. Her voice was calm, but no one listened. Until she stopped raising her hand and started building her own space. She left the job, started her own brand. Guess who came knocking 6 months later, trying to hire her for a collaboration? The same people who once ignored her. Because here's the truth. People don't value what you bring to the table until you leave the room and build your own. Respect starts at home. It starts with how you speak to yourself when no one's listening, with how you show up for your dreams when no one claps, with how you protect your peace even when you're tempted to settle. Don't wait for someone to say you deserve better. Say it to yourself and act on it. In relationships, so many women stay hoping that one day he'll see her worth. But here's the thing, he already sees it. He's just hoping you don't. So you see, when you allow someone to come and go as they please, to disrespect you in subtle ways and still get the best of you, you're not teaching them love. You're teaching them power over you. And that's not love. That's a slow erosion of your self-worth. I met a woman who said, "I stopped replying to his messages the moment I realized they weren't filled with love. Just habit." That's the power of reflection. She didn't block, she didn't beg, she just stepped into her self-respect, and he noticed the shift. Not because she said anything, but because her silence started screaming boundaries. You don't have to raise your voice to demand respect. You just have to raise your standards. From the way you dress, to how you spend your time, to the energy you give and receive, it all reflects how much you respect you. And the world, it mirrors back that same level. Respect isn't requested. It's never begged for. It's never explained. It's reflected in the way you choose yourself. Unapologetically, every single day. Silent moves make loud statements. In a world addicted to attention, the most powerful thing you can do is move in silence. No announcements, no explanations, just results. People expect noise when you're building because they're trained to look for the drama, the progress updates, the validation posts. But when you grow in silence, You don't feed egos, you feed empires. There's something magnetic about a woman who doesn't overshare, who doesn't broadcast every little step, who doesn't explain herself to people, who don't even deserve a front row seat to her journey. Because when you move in silence, you protect your energy from opinions that were never meant to shape you. I once met a girl who was mocked for quitting her job. People said she was reckless, unrealistic. She didn't argue. She didn't respond. She just went quiet. Started waking up earlier, learning, building. While others were posting about grind culture, she was actually grinding. A year later, she launched a brand that blew up overnight. At least, that's what the world thought. But it wasn't overnight. It was every silent hour, every invisible effort, every move no one saw. And that silence, it roared louder than any speech. Sometimes silence isn't just peace, it's protection. Think about relationships. That moment when you stop trying to explain your worth. When you stop chasing clarity from someone who only gave you confusion. And instead of asking why, you start focusing on what next. That's when your silence becomes your power. There's nothing louder than the silence of a woman who finally knows her value. She doesn't argue. She doesn't chase closure. She just levels up and leaves people wondering how they lost access. There was a woman who had her heart broken in front of the whole world. The betrayal was public. The whispers were loud. But her response? Stillness. No revenge. No scandal. Just soft detachment and solid moves. Months later, she came back stronger, healthier, glowing. And people asked, how did she do it? She didn't do it by proving anything. She did it by focusing on herself while the world was distracted by noise. You don't need to announce every goal. You don't need to tell people what you're manifesting, what you're praying for, what you're healing from. Your future doesn't require confirmation from the crowd. Let them think you're still stuck. Let them think you're quiet because you're weak. Let them underestimate you. Because the beauty of silent moves is that by the time they notice, it's too late to stop you. In friendships too, silence speaks. When people cross a boundary, you don't need to scream or write paragraphs. You just start creating space. You start loving them from afar. You start watering your own garden instead of begging them to see your worth. And that shift, it echoes, it teaches, it commands, not through confrontation, but through quiet detachment. Silent moves are sacred. They're how you keep your power intact in a world that wants to drain you. They're how you heal in peace, create in peace, evolve. Every woman who's ever transformed her life didn't do it by announcing every lesson. She did it by honoring the process in private. Because at the end of the day, the loudest statement you'll ever make is showing up with a life. Their ignorance is your indicator. It's not a curse, it's not a punishment, it's a redirection, a signal, a moment that whispers, you're placing value where it's not being seen. When someone ignores you, don't let your self-worth collapse under their silence. Let it rise. Let their absence highlight where your energy no longer belongs. You see, we're taught to chase approval, to fix what's broken, to prove we're worth it when someone pulls away. But the truth is, when someone starts ignoring you, they're revealing exactly where you stand in their life. Don't argue with that. Don't try to decode mixed signals when silence already told you everything. I knew a girl who kept texting a guy who once used to reply within seconds. Now it was hours, days, no explanations, just silence and distance. And you know what she kept doing? Making excuses for him. He's probably busy, she said. Busy? No one is too busy for someone they value. His silence was the indicator. But she wanted a conversation, a reason, a why. Until one day, she stopped texting. She stopped trying to light fires in places where she was constantly left in the dark. And that day she realized his ignorance wasn't rejection. It was protection. It was the universe showing her who was never truly for her. In friendships too, there's a shift that happens when you start loving yourself. Suddenly, people who once called daily go silent. The invites stop. The check-ins fade. You feel the distance growing. But here's what no one tells you. Sometimes silence is the pruning before the bloom. Their ignorance shows you where love was conditional, where support had limits, where your shine made others uncomfortable. You don't need closure from those who close the door on you without a word. Their silence is your closure. One woman told me, my boss used to praise my work. Then suddenly, he stopped acknowledging me. She thought she messed up. She doubled her efforts, stayed longer hours, tried to win back attention. But nothing changed. Until she realized it wasn't about her performance. It was about her becoming too good, too powerful, too noticeable. Some people ignore you not because you lack something, but because you reflect what they secretly fear or envy. So what did she do? She stopped seeking validation and started preparing her exit. 6 months later, she got a leadership position at a competing firm. And the same boss who ignored her sent a congratulations email. Sometimes their silence is not about you. It's about their own discomfort with who you're becoming. Even family can use silence as a weapon. You outgrow the dysfunction. You set boundaries. You protect your peace. And suddenly they go quiet. You become the changed one, the distant one. But what you need to understand is when people ignore your growth, they're just showing you where their love had conditions. Unconditional love doesn't vanish when you evolve. It doesn't withhold warmth when you choose self-respect. Their ignorance is your indicator. It shows you where to stop trying, where to stop giving, where to pull back your energy and redirect it toward people, places, and passions that actually reciprocate. Don't chase those who go silent. Observe, reflect, then rise. Because at the end of the day, their silence isn't just absence. It's information. It's a flashlight pointed at the door that's already closing. And once you see that, you stop knocking and you start walking. You are the prize. Act like it. This isn't arrogance, it's alignment. It's the powerful realization that your worth isn't based on how others treat you, but how you choose to treat yourself. When someone ignores you, overlooks you, or undervalues you, that isn't a reflection of your worth. It's a reflection of their inability to recognize royalty when it stands in front of them. And queens don't audition for a role they were born to own. There's something dangerously magnetic about a woman who knows she's the prize. She doesn't chase, she attracts. She doesn't beg, she embodies. She doesn't react to being ignored because she understands you don't devalue diamonds just because someone is too blind to see their shine. You let them walk and you keep sparkling. I remember a woman who was ghosted by a man she gave her soul to. Several years ago, she cried for days. She questioned everything, her looks, her worth, her words. But then something clicked. If I was everything when he wanted me, why am I nothing now? And the answer was simple, because she forgot she was the prize. She allowed someone's inconsistency to convince her she was replaceable. But the day she reclaimed her crown, she didn't send a text. She didn't ask why. She walked with her head high, booked a solo trip, started that side hustle, and glowed up so loud even silence couldn't ignore her. That's the power of knowing what you bring to the table and being okay to eat alone until the right energy sits beside you. You don't chase validation when you know you are the validation. Think about job interviews. 2 women walk in, one over-explains, pleads for a chance, lowers her worth. The other presents her value, smiles, and leaves it on the table. Who gets called back? The one who knows her worth is non-negotiable. You are not a discount version of anything. You are the full price, plus tax. So stop allowing yourself to be bargained with. You are not clearance. You are couture. And couture doesn't panic when someone walks away. It knows the right buyer will always recognize the value. Even in friendships, the same rule applies. When people start treating you like an option, remember who you are. You don't keep texting someone who's always too busy. You don't keep showing up for those who go silent when you need them. Your time is your currency. If they can't afford your energy, stop giving them credit they haven't earned. Because when you see yourself as the prize, you don't chase people. You choose them. And if they don't choose you back, you don't shrink. You shine harder. One woman told me she stopped calling her family members who only called when they needed something. At first, it felt cold. But then she realized, love is not supposed to feel like obligation. She wasn't being selfish. She was being sovereign. Because when you are the prize, you understand that boundaries are not walls. They are gates. And only those worthy of your presence get the key. There's a divine glow that appears when you stop fighting for the wrong people and start elevating for yourself. That glow is confidence. That glow is freedom. That glow is knowing you are the blessing, not the burden. The one to value, not validate. You are not here to convince anyone to see your magic. You are here to become so radiant, so undeniable, that their ignorance becomes irrelevant. So when they ignore you, doubt you, or disappear, don't flinch. Don't fold. Smile, straighten your crown, and say without saying a word, your loss. Because queens don't chase, they choose. And when you are the prize, you don't fight for a place. So now you know, silence isn't weakness, it's wisdom. Ignorance from others is not your downfall. It's your divine push toward elevation. You've been taught to panic when they don't text back, to spiral when they don't notice you, to question your worth when they stop calling, stop caring, stop showing up. But let me tell you something powerful. You don't lose value because someone refuses to see it. You're not a notification waiting to be tapped. You are a force waiting to be felt. When someone ignores you, don't collapse. Collect yourself. Don't react. Refocus. Don't beg. Build. The world doesn't respond to desperation. It bows to direction. You're not here to chase someone's approval. You're here to live your purpose so boldly they regret ever sleeping on you. You think they hurt you by going silent? No, they helped you because rejection is redirection. Every ignored message, every unanswered call, every ghosted night, it was all setting you up to reclaim your power. Sometimes life doesn't say no, it says not here. Not with them. Not with that energy. Not with people who never deserved your greatness in the first place. Listen to me. You are not here to compete for attention. You're here to command presence. You're not here to react to ignorance. You're here to reward loyalty. You're not here to prove you're enough. You are enough. In fact, you're more than enough. You're the storm that silence fears, the light that darkness tries to dim, the energy that can't be copied, only felt. You are the one they'll remember when their temporary distractions fade away, the one they'll regret underestimating. Let them go. Let them ignore you. Because diamonds aren't loud, they shine. Queens don't beg, they bless. And bosses don't chase, they build. You are all three. The moment you stop reacting to being ignored is the moment you start rewriting your story. No longer the girl who waits for validation. Now you're the woman who walks away in silence and builds a legacy that speaks louder than any words ever could. Do you know what's louder than a scream? Success. Do you know what hurts more than silence? Self-growth. And the day they realize you no longer need them, that's the day they'll feel the weight of their own ignorance. But you'll be too busy rising, too focused, too fulfilled. You'll be glowing in rooms you once prayed to enter, seated at tables you once felt invisible around. Because here's the truth. The loudest power move you can ever make is silence paired with progress. Let your actions talk behind closed doors. Let your energy make the announcements. Let your growth be the revenge, your peace be the power, and your absence be the awakening. You don't respond to ignorance because you are not ordinary. You are chosen. You are called. You are unshakable. You walk with purpose. You radiate fire. And you carry a soul that has survived storms others couldn't even stand in. Najinganin. Stay safe. You are not forgotten. You are being positioned. You are not ignored. You are being preserved. You are not rejected. You are being refined. So carry yourself like the crown you wear isn't made of gold. It's made of every time you refuse to settle. Every time you chose dignity over drama. Every time you grew in silence while they watched, waited and wondered. Let them. Because queens don't need explanations. They build empires. And from now on, remember this every time someone tries to shake your worth with silence. You can ignore me today, but you'll remember me forever. Because when the world goes quiet, the woman who knows her worth gets louder in her impact. And that, darling, is the legacy of a woman who finally realized she was always the prize.